Hello, welcome to another edition of Issues with Jide. Here we'll talk about actions and inactions of those who shape our political and national landscape and how these impact us positively or otherwise. I'm Ibrahim Shita. Today on the show, Kenneth Okonkwo launches fierce attack on Peter Obi, says he's a betrayer and ineffective leader. It's important to mention that we can only read comments with human names and the ones based on the subject matter. I have Jeremy Bazum, the maestro himself. Babajide Kolade Otitoju. Good evening. Good to see you, BK.
Good evening. It's good to do this with you on a rain washed out day here in Lagos.
Absolutely. It's so cold out here. So, looking at what is coming out from of the Labour Party, Kenneth Okonkwo, I guess he said he left the Labour Party a while ago. He was once a vocal supporter of Peter Obi, now describes him as a betrayer for backing the Julius Abure faction of the Labour Party despite ongoing leadership disputes. But as someone observing from the outside, what do you make of this criticism? Interesting development from Obis camp, do you think?
Oh, well, first and foremost, we cannot say that Kenneth Okonkwo still belongs to this camp. Kenneth Okonkwo left the Labour Party in February this year. He tendered his resignation letter. And at that time, he said, and I quote, "My entrance into politics is for good governance, and I will continue to work for it to ensure that Nigeria becomes a great country of incorruptible men. This aim can no longer be realized within Labour Party as presently constituted. Since the party is non-existent as presently constituted, I am constrained to resign my membership of the party." And he went on to say that um, Julius Abure, the chairman of the party, prioritized personal interest over the party's survival. Um, he described his hold on the party as choking and disruptive. So, without a shadow of a doubt, he had left the party. But we cannot deny that he still, his heart is still with the party to an extent. He still loves the party that he worked for and was his image maker. So he has not joined any other party. So because he has not joined any party since he left Labour Party, it is clear that he still retains the love for the party, the love for the well-being of the Labour Party in the inner recesses of his heart. In one corner of his heart, he still has some love for Labour Party. Now, there was something that I said here a long time ago that rather than Peter Obi providing leadership at a critical juncture in the life of the Labour Party, he preferred to sit in the middle. When that crisis of the Labour Party was still at its embryonic stage, Peter Obi preferred to sit on the fence because he was not sure of where the pendulum of victory would swing. People were tired of Julius Abure. People were convinced that the tenure of Julius Abure and his ESCO had come to an end, and they rose up against him. At that point, we expected Peter Obi to show leadership. He didn't show leadership. He didn't do anything concrete to weld the party together. He preferred to stay in the middle. And that is why Kenneth Obi, Kenneth Okonkwo says that Peter Obi betrayed the party by supporting. He, he interpreted Peter Obi's decision to kind of stay in the middle rather than frontally take a position on the crisis as backing Julius Abure, a man that, according to him, was hobnobbing with the party, or with the ruling party. And that's why I said Obi is a politician of convenience, not a politician of conviction. Nobody is murdering his political career. Obi is committed. Obi is committing political suicide, and I mean it. He then went on to say that if there is anybody who betrayed the other, I can say it emphatically that Peter Obi betrayed me. That's what he said. He accused Peter Obi of hobnobbing with Abure, whom he accused of flirting with the All Progressive Congress. He then, to further rub it in, he criticized Obi's leadership style, saying he is not a team player, he is not an effective manager of men. So these are very harsh words. People have said repeatedly that Obi didn't manage the crisis in the Labour Party very well. And Obi should have realized that the Labour Party still remains his best choice in realizing his ambition of governing Nigeria. His best bet, in my view, is not to go and be running mate to Atiku Abubakar. If he does that, he's finished politically. The support that he thinks he will get, he will not get. How can you step down from wanting to be president and doing so well in the election, coming third, winning the same number of states as the man who came first, as the man who came second in that same election, the toughest presidential election in Nigerian history, and then descend several stairs backwards to become the running mate to Atiku Abubakar? This is what they've been waving, the carrot they've been dangling before Peter Obi's eyes. And we don't know what decision he will take, because when they talk about coalition, is to still end up with a candidate as the standard bearer of the coalition as well as a running mate. And we all know that Atiku Abubakar still fancies his chances of becoming president of Nigeria. Peter Obi still fancies his chances of winning a presidential election in our country. Rotimi Amechi, who came second in the APC primaries, presidential primaries, largely because more governors supported him than they supported the vice president at that time, also wants to be president. He doesn't want to be running mate to anyone. Amechi thinks that he's good enough to be president. So, as far as Okonkwo is concerned, Peter Obi has already committed political suicide. And what he meant by that is clear to me, because he is convinced that the Labour Party is his best chance, is the best party that he can use, to achieve his aim of becoming the president of our great country. So if you watch the Labour Party disintegrate and you didn't have the leadership acumen, the leadership skills to find a solution, you didn't show any clout, you didn't find a way to weld these people together and remind them that they should be focused on the oncoming elections and all that, then where do you go? Where do you go from here? So it's a critical question. Does it go to SDP? The Labour Party remains his best bet. Because one thing is certain, a lot of our young people fancy the Labour Party. A lot of our young people like Peter Obi because they believe that Peter Obi is not like a lot of the politicians that they see as utterly corrupt and unscrupulous. They see him as the only good Indian. That's the way they see him. They see him like, oh, the like a giant in a room full of dwarfs. And metaphorically speaking, they see him as someone better than his colleagues who had been governors, someone better than his colleagues who had been ministers and all that. They just see him as a kind of a new broom who has integrity, who is not a thief. Obi is not perfect, just like other politicians. He's not perfect. He makes claims that he cannot defend, and his brand of politics is not the best that I've seen. But you cannot deny that when you put politicians, those who have been governors, those who have held big positions in our country together, you cannot deny that Peter Obi is not as greedy, is not as money conscious as some of those people. We may not even have the skills of some of them in terms of managing a state, managing resources, but you can't deny that Peter Obi is not uh, uh, like a lot of those big politicians that we see as very corrupt, irredeemably corrupt. So this is the reason so many young people across the ethnicities in our country decided that they were going to give him their support. And this has nothing to do with Igbo or this is support across the ethnicities. You know, um, the other day, even the son of the CJN, Chief Justice of Nigeria, was described as an obedient, who did his best, campaigned vigorously on social media for Peter Obi. So there are many people who believe that Peter Obi represents the change that our country needs. But for that change to come to fruition, Peter Obi's brand of politics must change. But it is clear now that he does not know how to properly run a party because as the standard bearer of the party in the presidential election is the natural leader. So what kind of leadership has he provided? Many people believe that Peter Obi has failed in that respect, that he could not provide leadership for his party. And even the Abure-led leadership also alluded to the same thing after Peter Obi granted a TV station an interview in which he accused the Abure-led leadership uh, of having been infiltrated by the APC. He said that without evidence, and they were clearly very angry. They then said, oh, you failed to provide leadership. So they too felt that in his position as a former governor and the governor presidential candidate of the party, who was seen as the face of the party, he should have been able to do something about the crisis that bedeviled the party. So the Abure-led leadership of the party accused Obi of media propaganda and campaigned against the party's leadership. That was their response to the interview that he granted to a TV station. Remember that TV station that lied against me the other day? that I took back what I said about the president.
Right.
We had a special June 12th edition in which again I affirmed that I refuse to take back what I said. That was the sixth time. That was the sixth time that I was saying it on live television, that I stood by what I said. Just in case some people are deaf and dumb, I decided to say it a sixth time that I stood by what I said. So the Abure-led leadership said nobody is infallible. When good leadership fail, they should take responsibility. Obi failed in providing leadership for the party and should own up to that failure instead of shifting blame. That was their response to the interview that Peter Obi granted a TV station that lied against me. And they affirmed that it was wrong of him to say that the current leadership of the party had been infiltrated by the APC. And they went on to say, see, uh, the same leadership that he continues to attack had supported him unwaveringly during the 2023 elections through the legal battles up to the Supreme Court. That same leadership stood behind Obi and even appeared in court more than Obi did. So it's not Kenneth Okonkwo alone who believes that Obi's leadership credentials are suspect. Members of his own party, Farouk, a member of the ESCO of the Labour Party, led by Abure, has also said the same thing, that Obi failed to provide leadership at a critical junction in the party's history. When that matter was brewing, we have found a way to bring people together. That is how skillful politicians who have solid political clout and credentials behave. Obi clearly, and the results are there, even for all to see, that Obi did not provide leadership in those situations. So, is it true that Obi is not a team player? At this point, I cannot say that Obi is not a team player. Was he merely thinking about himself or just concerned about himself? Because if you interpret what Kenneth Okonkwo has said, that's exactly how Kenneth Okonkwo is thinking, that he was more concerned about himself. That's why he called him a politician of convenience and not a politician of conviction. These are very strong words coming from a man who is Peter Obi up to a point.
But because some argue that Obi's focus is more on national governance than internal party politics. So, given that Peter Obi's central promise was transformational governance, not party building whatsoever, should he be judged harshly for not prioritizing Labour Party coalition?
If you do not put your party together, if you do not weld your party together, how do you then get the opportunity to run the country at the center? Even if you look at Bola Ahmed Tinubu, for example, after they formed the APC, he was consistently described as leader. They called him leader of the party. Though the constitution of the party does not recognize him as leader, but they continue to call him leader because of the influence that he wields. And the influence extended from the south to the north. He was able to build bridges. If you are the standard bearer of a party like Labour Party, and before your eyes, the party slipped into crisis, and you couldn't do anything to solve that problem, and they are saying your problem, your concentration is national governance. Know that it's not just to be granting interviews and talking all over the place. because somebody else is in charge, somebody else is president. You are not going to run the country for him. You must fix your own party, make your party stronger. You can see what Julius Malema has been doing in South Africa. Look at what Julius is like a one-man mopole in that place with his party, the EFF. And the party is getting stronger. People didn't give them a chance, but the party is getting stronger. That's the power of having a solid person as leader of a party who can rally everyone, bring everyone together, solve problems. Once you solve those internal problems, then you forge ahead. If your party is held down by internal crisis, there is no way that party can attain glory at the center, because the crisis that it continues to battle will ultimately bring it down and ensure that it is not competitive at the national level. That's why parties must have mechanism to resolve their internal divisions. And parties need influential people who can speak to warring parties within the party and achieve some form of unanimity. But if you don't have that clout, or if your attitude is not to bring people together, if you continually think about yourself alone, and you do not have the clout, you do not even demonstrate that clout, then the end of the party is very predictable. This is the reality. We all saw Obasanjo held the PDP together. Whatever he said, the people listened. The same thing with Action Congress. Whatever he said, they listened. So you cannot say that somebody's concern is more about governance at the national level, and then he will leave his own party to break into pieces and ultimately become irrelevant. Is it not that same that he wants to use to get to the top? So that is the thing. Those arguments make no sense to me, really. Yorùbá will say, "Ilé la ti ń kẹ́ṣọ̀ ròde."
That's right.
And translated to English, it simply means that charity begins at home, Abi.
Absolutely.
So if your charity begins at the center, charity begins at national level, and you leave your party to implode, you leave your party to die, what platform are you going to use to get to the top? And Kenneth Okonkwo's message is clear, that his own party had not been focused on preparing for 2027. Once an election has ended, you try to restructure, you try to reorganize, you try to re-strategize with the next election as your focus. This is how great politicians reason.
Right.
And if you are focused on the prize, you try and bring everyone together. You try and do your best to ensure that you are going into that next election without a divided house.
That's right. Let me take some comments. Oluwole Oke says, why are we discussing this man that is really not politically powerful as he thinks of himself? He's not specific whether he's talking about Obi or Kenneth Okonkwo. Nelson Adufe says, with due respect of someone who is empty trying to have flash of leadership, I want to emphatically say that Peter Obi is not a political weight and he cannot win alone, nor in their coalition movement. Show Movie says, Okonkwo said Obi failed by not taking on Abure. Abure claimed Obi failed by not taking on Okonkwo, and he said, this should let you know that Obi is not a godfather politician. Big T Prince says, let's be honest here. Obi will have to go back to the PDP because he can smell, before he makes the right, he can smell Asoro. Labour Party is already scattered. Many Obedients have now seen that Ashiwaju is doing really well. Yusuf Maruf says Peter Obi is a social media president. He forgets that Anambra is not Nigeria and also part of politicians that made us where we are today. TJ Associates said BKO at this stage, if Obi returns 100% to Labour Party, he will not get total support of the party again. Obi is a weak political party manager. Akimbola Olushe says, good evening, BKO and Ibrahim. Kenneth Okonkwo's inconsistency, his views about his party and rancor with Peter Obi, it's not good for him. He doesn't have the intellectual capacity to governize his power. But BKO, looking at the other issues, if you look at Kenneth Okonkwo, he accused Obi of being ineffective in party leadership, as he also said, especially after the 2023 elections. Do you think Peter Obi really missed an opportunity to build post-election movement with internal structures like policy think tanks or state-level coordination? How far do you think this ineffective leader label, in light of this omission, how far do you think it is?
I mean, if you cannot wield considerable influence over members of your party, a party that is dominated by young people, then your leadership capacity is suspect. It's as simple as that. It's not in all cases that one should use the Tinubu example. But I believe that a more skillful politician would have dealt with that issue much better.
But others will say
I don't
that,
think
sorry to butt in, but it is actually, in all fairness, it is actually not the first time a political party in Nigeria has fractured post-election. We recall that PDP in 2014 and APC in fighting in 2020, came to mind. So people are saying that Obi's handling of Labour Party issues, really compares well, and it's really nothing to, fuss about.
The arguments that people make sometimes reflect the facts at their disposal and the knowledge that they have. You can bounce back from adversity. Are they saying that parties don't bounce back from adversity? Do you know that PDP won more states, more new states than the APC in the 2019 election? Do you know that? The presidential election? Do you know that PDP won more states?
That's right.
Both parties went into that election. PDP made more gains. So if we are to believe the story that the party imploded after 2015, how come in the presidential election they won more new states than the APC? Check the record. So I disagree that the party imploded. Yes, the party had a bit of crisis, but they sorted it out. And in my view, against a ruling party, against an incumbent president seeking a second term, PDP did very well in the 2019 election. PDP did very well. States that were not in their column originally, they won in that election. So they cannot say PDP imploded, and you cannot use that example in this case. PDP lost the presidential election in 2015 by only 4 percentage points. APC had 52, they had 48. So it wasn't even a bad performance. But they went into the 2019 election and still did well. They took some new states. Bauchi, for example, was in the APC column. They defeated the incumbent governor. Yes, they defeated the incumbent governor. PDP also won Benue. They took it from APC in the same election. In the same election. So some of the arguments are not really valid. If you have a party, I think the mistake I made was that in the beginning, when he could have snuffed out that problem, he was non-committal. And I said this before. I've said this before. That I put one leg on the right, he put another one on the left. He didn't want to take a stand. He didn't want to take a stand. He was just watching the situation in the belief that, oh, maybe things will sort themselves out. But the matter continued to degenerate. And the longer Abure dug in, the more disenchanted members were. The real owners of the party, the people who dominate the party, the obedient movement, the workers' union, they were angry with him. They were fed up. Obi should have done his best to get Abure to put the party first. I don't think he has that kind of influence. I don't think he had that kind of influence. The kind of influence that Muhammadu Buhari had in northern Nigeria, that he could tell a candidate, step down for this person, this is who I want. He didn't have it.
Mm.
He didn't have it.
That's right.
So because he didn't have it, he could not solve the problem. He left the party to degenerate. Now things are a lot worse. How many of their federal lawmakers are still left? A good number of them have defected. A good number, even their governorship candidates in Enugu State, who narrowly lost the election. In fact, many people believe that he indeed won the election. He has defected to the PDP. So if we accuse the PDP of not doing its best to stop the members from their ranks defecting to the APC, should we be silent that Peter Obi, with all the influence that he has, with all the popularity, could not bring that influence to bear on the running of his party?
That's right.
He needs to have, he's supposed to have a solid grip on the party. What was he doing? So Kenneth Okonkwo, you may not like him because of the very disrespectful way he speaks to people and all that. But some of what he said, I have said before. I didn't provide leadership. And we saw the Senate president also say the same thing. That he was head of a small party, but he could not run the party. A party that has just one governor and some federal lawmakers.
How much
Should be
more
able to,
of
it should be able to hold such people together. Honestly.
That's right. I won't be able to take some comment more because of our time, but we have Peter Obi supporters who are here. They do their normal thing they do, just like the president would say that they abuse the hell out of him. They're already doing the same thing here. But I'll take a comment, responding to them. And now I'm saying that the economy of Nigeria is being rated worldwide by Fitch, Moody's, IMF, World Bank, etc., saying the policy is working. Go and work, stop sitting at home with iPhone. Hunger won't reach you. I guess that's quite an interesting comment to take. But BKO, final thoughts on this. If you look at looking at Kenneth Okonkwo's exit from the party, seems to mirror similar exits by other notable figures disillusioned with Labour's internal operations, as you also mentioned. Are we seeing a structural collapse of the Labour Party's promise as a movement? And if so, is the root of this collapse poor leadership, weak institutions, or both? Very quickly.
Both. Poor leadership demonstrated poor leadership, greed for power, uh, lack of strategy, because in the intervening months after an election, you need to strategize as a party, come together, and think of how you can conquer new territories. What was the Labour Party strategy? None. They can say all what they like on social media. It doesn't change the fact that Obi didn't provide leadership. Such things are easy to know. If indeed he provided leadership, the evidence will be all over the place. How many meetings did he call to bring the party together? What happened during those meetings? What did he say? By the time he decided to pitch his tent with the OT, with Governor OT and other people who felt, okay, let's put a caretaker in place. It was already too late. There shouldn't have been any need for a caretaker committee. He should have been able to bring everybody together and ease Abure out of his position if that was the best thing to do. But he allowed things to degenerate because he thought that Abure will eventually triumph, so he did not want to offend Abure. And that is where Okonkwo says that's the point Okonkwo made, that he actually betrayed him because he felt that he should have taken a position on Abure. He didn't take a position on Abure. I said that a long time ago. I said that since last year. That he was just playing politics, just trying to stay in the middle. Sometimes you have to make your position known. Okay, he tried to stay in the middle. He tried to not rock the boat. Where has it landed the party? I still believe that you can't write off the Labour Party at this point because there are people who still retain their love for Labour Party, including young people. They will still make their mark in the next election. I'm confident that the obedient movement remains solid and they are the most dominant group within the party. But whether the party will be able to have the kind of impact that it had in the 2023 election, honestly, I don't see that happening.
It remains to be seen.
Yeah,
Right.
I don't see that happening. And they need to sort out their crisis. They need to sort out their crisis. The way it is now, if they need to come together and make a deal with Abure, they need to do that.
Well,
A deal that makes everyone happy. They can do that. But I don't even think he's bothered about that. He's more concerned about talking about Nigeria, talking down Nigeria all over the place, as if that is the guarantee to winning an election. Oh, the guarantee to winning an election is strengthening your party, making your party stronger than it was in 2023, conquering new territories, bringing a message of tremendous hope about your party. But he's more concerned with going all over the globe, granting interviews, and reeling out some statistics that he cannot even factually defend.
Well, that's our show for today's edition of Issues with Jide. Special thanks to you, Babajide Kolade Tutoju, for those insightful analyses, as always.
Thank you, Ibrahim. Thank you to our viewers. We'll do this again next week, wherever we find ourselves.
Thank you to our audience for keeping our company on every edition. You can see the program again anytime by subscribing to our YouTube channel, TVC News Nigeria. Click on the subscribe button to get the latest information. You can also follow us on our social media platforms at TVC News NG, also at Ibrahim_Shita. On behalf of the rest of the team, I'm Ibrahim Shita. See you again next edition. Bye for now.